Joining me now to discuss is Principal at Balido and Associates and Chairman of the Border Commerce and Security Council, Nelson Balido. Nelson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me this afternoon.
Of course. I want to get your reaction to what the president said. Do you think that is accurate, that we couldn't take care of Trump's deportation plan without El Salvador's help? We should mention they're also giving El Salvador $6 million for the use of this jail.
Well, look, I think, first of all, the relations between El Salvador and the United States has certainly at an all-time high. Their cooperation is certainly absolutely something that we need. Now, could we have done this? Look, what we need to know, and people need to know in this country, is that if you are a terrorist designated organization operating in this country and you are caught, you will be sent to the maximum security prison we can possibly do that. That is the prison there in El Salvador, and what's happening, you will see it every day. They have taken people off the street from all over Latin America, and now they're taking people off the street that we're sending them from the United States of America. The people need to know that if you're operating here, this thing is going to stop, and it's going to stop quickly, and Trump's going to do it.
How important is it, Nelson, to maintain these good relationships with our neighbors to the south?
It's very important. And I'll tell you, El Salvador is a beacon, because what you're seeing now is we're seeing what's happening in Mexico with the terrorist organizations that have been designated there, that are actually operating there, feeding fentanyl coming in from China through the ports into the United States. Now, what we have to look at is, what do we do with what's happening in Mexico? Is this something that Mexico should adopt? I think so. I think they need to get very serious about what's happening in their own country. Over 200,000 homicides just last year alone. So this is something that's absolutely going to affect what's going to happen in the U.S. Trump needs to push the Mexican president to be able to do something very similar like that they're doing in El Salvador, to ensure that, again, if they're operating in Mexico, which obviously operate in the United States, we're going to put a stop to that now and forever.
The White House assuring the family of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, of course, he's the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador, that he is alive, he is secure, he's being held in the country's terrorism confinement center. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had this to say about getting him back to the United States.
The president of El Salvador is coming to the White House on Monday. Does President Trump want him to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia with him?
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. We very much appreciate President Bukele and El Salvador's cooperation in the repatriation of El Salvadorian gang members who the previous administration allowed to infiltrate our country.
Leavitt making those remarks despite the fact that the Supreme Court has ruled the administration must facilitate the return on Abrego Garcia. Nelson, could this reaction to this mistaken deportation hurt the way future deportations are carried out?
No, I don't think so. Look, there's a lot of work that goes into determining who is who before they get deported or arrested in any way. Can there be some mistakes? Could there be some mistaken intent? I will tell you that there's a lot of people with the same names that come over the border on a daily basis that are taken into secondary inspection because they have a name of somebody that's on a wanted list. That doesn't mean it's that particular person, but it could be somebody that's on a wanted list. So these are things that need to be sorted out. Mistakes will happen. They'll be very, very small when they do. But ultimately, I don't think this is going to make any difference on how we go after the criminal aliens in this country and ultimately deport them.
The White House has authorized the military to take control of land along the southern border. It's running through Arizona, California, and New Mexico. We already know since President Trump took office, the number of border crossings have dropped dramatically. How important is it for us to maintain this intense border offensive?
It's very important. Now, ultimately, the job of the military is not to secure the border. We need Border Patrol. We need ICE. We had Office of Field Operations, which is U.S. Customs. Those are the folks, the law enforcement entities that need to secure the border. While we up those numbers, while we hire more of those, absolutely the military can be more eyes in the field. They can help make sure that the agents are out in the field arresting people, not out there behind the scenes processing immigrants or people that may cross otherwise. So I think this is certainly important. It puts a very stamp on our border that we mean business, but ultimately this is a stopgap measure that needs to be cured, because we want our military to be ready to fight wars, not to be necessarily secure the U.S. border.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.